for the State Department. As we told you last night, it decided to defer honoring Samira Ibrahim, an Egyptian women's rights activist, after her anti-American and anti-Semitic tweets were uncovered. Today, they took it a step further.
Yesterday you said you deferred the award, but now is this, you've rescinded the award, is it?
We never presented it. We've decided that we will not present it.
For what reasons?
Correct.
For what reason?
What turned up in the review that made you make this decision?
I'm not going to get into details beyond saying that we didn't consider some of the public statements that she had made appropriate. They didn't comport with our values.
As it turns out, Ms. Ibrahim, who initially claimed her Twitter account had been hacked, wrote this yesterday after the controversy surfaced, quote, "I refuse to apologize to the Zionist lobby in America regarding my previous anti-Zionist statements." Also this week, Secretary of State John Kerry announced the U.S. is giving $250 million worth of taxpayer money to Egypt's Muslim Brotherhood, a government with an anti-Semitic history. So what is going on here? Joining me now from L.A. is Mark Hanna. He's a former aide to Secretary of State John Kerry. Good to see you, Mark. First of all, what is going on with this Samira Ibrahim issue? She was noted in Time Magazine's 100 Most Influential People issue, and the essay about her was written by Charlize Theron, and O'Reilly speculated last night that that was good enough for the State Department when it was reviewing its list of possible candidates to be honored. What's your take?
Right. No, there's no doubt whatsoever that Ms. Ibrahim is a remarkably effective activist and a pro-democracy proponent in Egypt. That she was, as you know, Laura, subjected to some of these virginity tests that happened, and she ended up suing the leadership of the Egyptian government and became a sort of a star that way. Here's the thing we have to remember. In this part of the world, you can be anti-dictator and pro-democracy and still hold very reprehensible views and be deeply bigoted or anti-Semitic. The depth
Mark,
of anti-Semitism...
Are you making excuses for the State Department's pathetic due diligence?
No, I'm not. And look, I'm sure there are going to be difficult questions that get asked within the State Department about how she made it this far or how these public tweets got by
Mark, this is embarrassing. This is what I don't get. Like, Republicans will have no problem calling out, I think at least lately, Republicans who just blow it because it helps it actually helps the party. The State Department just finished with this Benghazi deal, okay, where we don't really know what happened, but that thing was not handled right, obviously.
Wait, but Laura, do you think that the State Department...
This is a small issue, smaller issue, but nevertheless, do a Google search. I mean, Facebook her. I mean, come on.
But once this new evidence did come to light, and once they were presented with these tweets and saw that she had said these reprehensible things, don't you agree that the State Department did the right thing by abstaining from giving her this recognition?
Of course they did, but they only did because I believe it was Bill Kristol came up with the information. I mean, this is our State Department. One would think they were a little more professional and a little more thorough than what they've shown us here. And look, it's not your deal. This is what they did, but to me, this just seems like really, really slipshod stuff here. But let's move on to this Egyptian Muslim Brotherhood funding situation. $250 million, not that much when you think of our overall budget, but nevertheless, when we see military tuition assistance programs in the United States being cut, $250 million given the history of anti-Semitism on Muslim Brotherhood websites and comments by Morsi himself, who's the president.
Right. On one hand, you could say, well, we're bound to these obligations by the David Accords back in 1979 and the peace treaty that exists between Egypt and Israel. But the fact of the matter is, we need to be taking these commitments of foreign aid very seriously, and whether this is in our smart and strategic national interest. Now, I happen to think that as much as Mohamed Morsi has said some pretty heinous things and is a deeply flawed leader of Egypt, having a strong and secure Egypt is within America's national security interests. And look, we give $2 billion a year to Pakistan. We give $3 billion to Israel. And so we give money based not on whether or not we agree with the leaders of a certain foreign country, but whether it's in our strategic interest.
I hear you, but boy, we're seeing major cutbacks here in the United States, and I think people are going to start questioning this foreign aid a lot more closely. Mark, we appreciate your joining us. Thanks so much. And next on the rundown, a far